The blind girl on stage began to sing a lullaby only 3 people had ever heard. Judge Marcus Kane's face went pale. He opened his mouth to speak. Nothing came out. The whole theater seemed to lean forward at once. Something about his stillness felt wrong. The crowd sensed it before they understood why. Another Tuesday night. The Marlowe Theater in downtown Chicago. 2,800 seats, everyone full. Cameras rolling. Millions watching from home. Another hopeful stepping into the light. Marcus Kane sat in his usual spot. Black shirt. Arms crossed. That same tired, skeptical look he wore every season. Beside him, Alina Vance sipped water. Tobias Reed scrolled through notes. Priya Shah leaned back, waiting. 11 seasons in, everyone on the crew knew the rules of Marcus Kane. He didn't clap for effort. He didn't cry for sad stories. People called him cold. He called it honest. Backstage, a girl waited with a cane in one hand and a folded piece of paper in the other. 12 years old. Small for her age. Sunglasses, even indoors. Nothing flashy about her at all. A stagehand gently took her elbow to guide her. She smiled and said she was fine. She just needed the wall. Host Derek Voss crouched beside her. "You ready?" She nodded, just once. He squeezed her shoulder and stood. Somewhere behind them, a stage manager counted down on his fingers. 3, 2, 1. Onto the stage she walked, cane tapping softly, counting her steps the way she'd practiced 100 times. The audience clapped warmly, the way audiences do when someone walks out bravely into a room they cannot see. A producer whispered into a headset. A spotlight found her and held. "What's your name?" Derek asked. "Aaliyah Bennett." "How old are you, Aaliyah?" 12, and what are you going to sing for us tonight?" "A lullaby," she said. "My mom used to sing it to me." "That's beautiful," Derek said gently. "Is your mom here tonight watching?" Aaliyah shook her head. "She's in heaven. She died when I was 7. A soft, sad murmur moved through the crowd. "I'm so sorry," Derek said. "Who are you singing for tonight, Aaliyah?" "For her," Aaliyah said. "And I guess whoever else remembers her." "That's a brave thing to bring on this stage," Derek said quietly. "It's the only song I know all the way through," Aaliyah admitted, and a few people in the crowd laughed softly, gently, grateful for the small relief. Marcus finally looked up from his notes. "I live at Fernwood Home now," Aaliyah continued. "It's for kids without parents. I've been blind since I was born, so my mom always said songs were how I saw the world." Her voice was steady, practiced, like she'd told this story to herself many times just to survive it. Before she died, she recorded herself singing this lullaby onto an old cassette tape. So I'd never forget her voice. I've listened to it almost every night for 5 years. The room went quiet in a heavier way now. "I didn't know anyone else knew this song," she added. "It was just ours. But tonight felt like the right night to share it." She lifted her chin toward the small speaker beside her, cued the pianist, and began to sing. The melody was old-fashioned, simple, the kind of tune passed down rather than written. Aaliyah's voice was thin at first, then settled into something clear and unshaken. She sang 2 lines, then 2 more. Marcus Kane's pen dropped from his hand and hit the desk. His face had gone the color of paper. Something in his chest had recognized the melody a full second before his mind caught up to it, the way an old smell can undo a person before they understand why. Alina Vance noticed first, glancing sideways at him mid-song. Tobias Reed leaned in, brow furrowed, watching Marcus rather than the stage. Priya Shah whispered something no microphone caught. Aaliyah kept singing, unaware, repeating the same 2 lines a second time, the way her mother always had. A habit, a comfort, a signature only a handful of people alive would recognize. Marcus Kane, silent, mouthed the words along with her without meaning to. His hands had started to shake. He gripped the edge of the desk to steady them. And then he did something he had not done in 11 seasons behind that desk. He stood up. To understand what happened next, you need to understand what happened 17 years earlier. Back then, Marcus Kane was a struggling session musician. Not yet famous, not yet certain he'd ever be anything at all. He'd just buried his own mother after a long illness, and he'd stopped singing entirely. Couldn't stand the sound of his own voice in an empty apartment. He took whatever studio work he could get. Backup sessions, jingles, other people's dreams. He showed up on time and did the work and went home and sat in silence. Nobody on those sessions knew what he was carrying. A woman on the studio floor noticed. Her name was Naomi Bennett. Backing vocalist, warm laugh, endlessly patient with young musicians who were falling apart quietly in the corner of a recording booth. "You look like a man who forgot how to sing," she told him once, half joking, setting a cup of tea beside his mixing desk. "I did," he admitted. Naomi didn't push. She just started humming while she worked. Day after day. Weeks passed. She never asked him what was wrong. She just kept humming, patient as weather, until one evening, after everyone else had gone home, she taught him a lullaby, an old one, from her own family, one her grandmother used to sing. "Sing it with me," she said. "Just once, for your mom." He did. He cried the whole way through it. It was the first time he'd cried since the funeral. That lullaby became a private thing between them. A small kindness neither ever mentioned publicly. Naomi went on to build a quiet career as a vocal coach. Marcus went on to become famous. They stayed in touch, occasionally, the way old friends do. A call on a birthday. A message when a mutual friend passed. 15 years later, Naomi called him with different news. A diagnosis. Aggressive, little time left. And a daughter, Aaliyah, blind since birth, with no father in the picture and no other family to speak of. "I don't know what happens to her when I'm gone," Naomi said, her voice breaking for the first time he'd ever heard. "I'll take care of it," Marcus told her. All of it. He meant it literally. He quietly covered her medical care in the months that followed. He visited the hospital twice, always after visiting hours, always alone. Naomi asked him once, near the end, to make sure Aaliyah kept singing. "It's how she sees things," she said. "Don't let her stop." After Naomi died, he set up a trust for Aaliyah's schooling, and her care at Fernwood, funneled through a lawyer, no name attached, no press, no publicity. "This isn't for my image," he told his manager. "Nobody hears about this." For 5 years, that trust paid for everything. Her school for the blind, her cane training, her therapy, a good coat every winter filed quietly under equipment. He never once visited. He got a short update twice a year instead. Doing well. Settling in. Nothing more. Sometimes he'd read those short updates twice, late at night, the way he used to hum along with Naomi in an empty studio. It was the closest thing he had left to hearing her voice. In her last weeks, weak but determined, Naomi asked a nurse for a cheap cassette recorder. She recorded herself singing the lullaby 3 times over, so if the tape ever wore thin in one place, Aaliyah would still have 2 more versions of her mother's voice to hold on to. She labeled it in shaky handwriting, "For when you can't see me, listen instead." He never asked what Naomi had left behind for her daughter. He never knew about that cassette tape, recorded in a hospital bed, of a woman singing an old lullaby one final time. So her blind little girl would always know her voice. He thought that chapter of his life was closed. folded quietly into the past, along with his mother and his grief, and the friend who'd taught him to sing again. He thought that was the end of it. Until tonight. Aaliyah finished the final line and let the last note hang in the air. The theater was silent. Marcus Kane stood in the middle of the stage now, close enough to see the tears sliding out from beneath her sunglasses. "Where did you learn that song?" he asked. His voice cracked on the last word. "My mom," Aaliyah said. "Naomi Bennett. She used to sing for singers a long time ago. She said this song saved someone's life once. She never told me whose. She just said if I ever needed to feel less alone, I should sing it." Marcus's eyes filled. He didn't try to stop it. "It saved mine," he said. "Your mother taught me that song the year my own mom died. She sat with me in an empty studio and made me sing it until I could feel something again. I hadn't heard it in 17 years. Then you walked out here and sang it note for note, the exact way she used to. You knew my mom?" Aaliyah's voice went small. "She was one of the best people I ever met," Marcus said. "And I've been keeping a promise to her for 5 years without ever once hearing her daughter's voice." "You're the one," Aaliyah whispered. "The one who pays for my school." "The lawyer never told me a name. I used to imagine what they looked like. I asked him not to tell you," Marcus said. "It was never supposed to be about me." "It's not," Aaliyah said. "It's about her. It was always about her." Marcus Kane, the man who had sat behind that desk for 11 seasons without so much as a wet eye, put his face in his hands and cried in front of 2,800 people and a live audience of millions. Elena Vance was crying now, too. Tobias Reed wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Priya Shah had both hands pressed to her mouth. Marcus knelt down in front of Aaliyah and hugged her like he was thanking a ghost through her daughter. The audience rose to its feet, every single one of them. Applause thundered through the theater like weather. Backstage, other contestants pressed toward the wings just to watch. Someone in the balcony was openly sobbing into a jacket sleeve. Derek Voss, usually never at a loss for words, simply stood back and let it happen, wiping his own eyes with his sleeve. If this story is moving you right now, share it and subscribe so you never miss one like it. Then, slowly, Marcus stepped back, wiped his face, looked at her. "Finish it," he said softly. "Sing the last verse. For both of them." And she did. Aaliyah Bennett's voice filled the Marlowe Theater again, steadier now, carrying 17 years of grief and gratitude that had never met each other until this exact moment. She sang the final line slowly, deliberately, like she finally understood why her mother had loved this song enough to leave it behind on an old cassette tape. She didn't need to see the room to know it had gone completely still. She could feel it in the silence between notes, the kind of silence a blind singer learns to read better than anyone with working eyes. When she finished, Marcus Kane didn't say a word. He reached forward and pressed the golden buzzer without speaking, tears still on his face, and gold confetti rained down over a blind 12-year-old girl who had just brought two strangers' grief full circle without ever meaning to. In the months that followed, Marcus finally visited Fernwood home in person, quietly, without cameras. He had the old cassette tape professionally restored and gave Aaliyah a second copy, just in case the original ever wore out. He set up a proper scholarship in Naomi Bennett's name for young blind musicians and made sure, this time, her name was the only one attached to it. Aaliyah still lives at Fernwood, though she visits Marcus's studio now most weekends. Kane tapping down the same hallway Naomi used to walk 2 decades earlier. The staff there say she sings constantly now, in the halls, in the garden, wherever the sound wants to go, no longer just at night with a cassette player under her pillow. Marcus keeps a photo of Naomi on his desk now, next to the framed quarterly reports he used to read alone at night. He says he finally stopped feeling like he was hiding something. Every year, on Naomi's birthday, Marcus and Aaliyah sing the lullaby together. Just the two of them. No audience. No cameras. It still saves something in him every time. Some songs are never really finished. They just wait for the right voice to carry them home.